ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Oscar.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And take it.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
The march towards mid-July, the start of training camp, continues as we preview what's ahead in episode 150 of the Bears Etc. podcast. We're brought to you by Miller Lite with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. In this week's podcast, we visit with third-year quarterback Tyson Bagent, who's in a battle with Case Keenum for the number 2 job behind the starter Caleb Williams. And I believe both players are going to make the final roster no matter how it stacks up, but that'll be something to key on for sure. And we also visit with veteran tight end Durham Smythe, a free agent addition from the Miami Dolphins. Tom, can you believe we made 150? 150.
I can't wait to 300.
What's your takeaway from doing these podcasts? We've interviewed a lot of different people over the last 3 years, and 150, that's a nice milestone, Tommy.
It is. You know, I always get a kick out of some of the newbies, some of the guys that haven't had very many interviews. They come in nervous and they leave comfortable. And that's what I like most about it, is because sometimes we're getting a chance to meet these guys for the first time face to face. You meet them a lot more often than I do. But when we all have something in common, we have something that's relatable, I think it cuts the tension easily, and then it's just a football conversation. And you can hear it from Tyson, and you'll be able to hear it from Durham. They're two different, completely different people at the microphone.
Yeah, great personalities. That's why I bunched them together here. And this goes back to, and I touched on this, the photo day before the veteran minicamp. All the players got to get in full uniform. They got to go through the drill of taking photos, announcing where they're from for the networks, the stuff you see on television or in the stadium on game day on the big boards. But they made players available for Tom and I, and that was one of the most enjoyable things I've done in a long time, Tommy. It was a string of about 11 or 12 guys, and we've been rolling out these interviews over time here, and it was just a relaxed atmosphere. They're in full pads sitting there at the table, and in many cases meeting Tom for the first time, and me maybe for the first time as well. But we had fun with these guys, and they're just when in that relaxed environment when you're not getting ready for a game. It was an enjoyable experience. Hope we continue to get those over the years, because I think that brought a lot of their personalities out, and they felt comfortable.
Well, first of all, it's going to be the last time we'll see them in full pads where there isn't something going on, whether the competition at training camp, talking to them right after a game, mid-season and all that. But I want to know, Jeff Joniak is in the green screen getting ready to introduce himself as a Monday Night Football player. Are you going to say Iowa State, or are you going to say your high school?
No, I'm gonna say Iowa State. That's tradition. I know you would prefer I say Hersey High School, but I know that's in vogue, and you really appreciate the work that the coaches and the programs around the state of Illinois handle their business in the IHSA. It's impressive. The volunteers that coach and the guys on staff do a great job. Our own Jason McKee, one of them at Carmel Mundelein. Well, I mean, you're going to go Notre Dame, aren't you?
I might go Joliet Raiders.
Joliet Raiders,
the Pop Warner football team that I played for back then.
You'd have your friend Chris Berman announce it for you and say Raiders.
Right. You know, because there's a lot of domers out there. We talked about that with Durham, but also the fact that I like saying Joliet. I like promoting the people and the kids and everything from my hometown.
Yeah, you're proud of where you came from. You just don't say Joliet. You tell everybody, even though we're in the state of Illinois, Joliet, Illinois. I still don't understand that one, but that's just the way you are. You have a little quirkiness to you, don't you? 57?
Very much. That's why hi, I'm Tom Thayer.
Hi,
say
my name's
first
Tom.
And last name.
My name's Tom. Tom, do you wish you? You had fun as a player. Obviously, you had one of the greatest teams in NFL history, so everything was a riot at that time. Did you feel you took advantage of every opportunity you had as an NFL player to enjoy the moment, to take the moments, or not, or you just were too nervous and, you had that little bit of scariness that hovered over you because of Mike Ditka? I don't know. You tell me.
I honestly, it wasn't fun.
Oh, come on.
It wasn't no, listen. Yeah, I want to explain this. I loved it, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, given what I know and how I feel and all that kind of stuff. But it was so competitive that you never had the fun. You never had that financial security that you could feel, okay, if I lost my job today, I'm still going to be good for my lifetime and my family's lifetime. And that was a day-to-day accomplishment. Like I said, I went there every day with the fear of losing my job. That never left me. And then I had the competitive, both physical and academically at Notre Dame. And sometimes I was out of my academic level because the kids there are so smart and they're just so academically sound. So, but let me preface this, because I loved the fun that McMahon brought, because he was a guy that was so loose and so confident and had so much fun in the locker room. And sometimes he would make the most monotonous situation, he would just cut the levity. I mean, and so I always had my enjoyment through other guys, had my enjoyment through Walter, had my enjoyment through guys that I enjoyed being around, like Otis and Richard and stuff like that. But did I have fun? Yeah, I loved every second of it. But it wasn't every single day there was pressure. You never had a pressureless day.
Well, no, I take this in the framework I want to say here. So, you said at times you felt maybe you didn't use this word, but at times at Notre Dame academically, since it's an unbelievable institution. I can't even imagine having gone there and going to school there and getting out of there with a degree. Was that a little overwhelming, the classroom at times? And how did you balance that with knowing, God, I just love playing football. Like, I know I have to get my degree. I have to do well in the classroom to be able to be on the field. But not everybody's a student. Not everybody, is a good student. It's hard. What was more challenging for you?
Well, staying academically eligible, that was always such a concern, because they had a little bit higher of academic qualifications there. But the best thing about Notre Dame was, I think the biggest class I ever had at Notre Dame was 35 people.
Oh, you didn't have big auditorium lectures?
Wow. You're not getting lost in the shuffle. And as soon as, if you don't go to the class, they tell you have an academic advisor. Mine was Professor DeChico, who was also the fencing coach, and they were nationally qualified. I mean, they had Olympic champions and so on and so forth. So if you didn't go to class, you were called out immediately. And by the time you got to the locker room, there'd be a note in your locker, and you would have to explain why you weren't at class. That's what I liked the most about it, because again, being, just not being as academically qualified as some of the kids that I roomed with and the guys that I got to meet while I was there. I just didn't have that, but I did have it in the football terms, living, going to meetings, going to the weight room, showing up at practice every day, being versatile to change my position every year. Those are the things that, kind of held me together.
What are you most proud of?
Getting a diploma.
Of your whole life?
Oh man, that's a rough one. Being a part, listen, man, I was a part of the Super Bowl in the '85 Bears. That smile will never be rubbed off your face. And we're getting ready to celebrate the 40-year anniversary of it. And the guys on that team I love as much today as I did the day that we've landed in O'Hare Airport after the Super Bowl was over. And I admire so many of those guys, and I just love the fact that, being a local guy, I got to be a part of the life of, Mike Singletary or Fensick and Hamp and Ming and all the other guys that I mentioned, every guy on that offensive line. So, that's hard not to be proud of, because it affects your whole family.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was going to bring up, because your family got to experience it firsthand in a unique way as well. So, I mean, they lived their life in their own terms, and they live vicariously through you on the football field, your whole family, and it still does. Is that a fair representation?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen, I come from a blue collar family. I'm in the same house I've been in for 63 years. So it's not something that it's led to greener pastures, but I love my life. I love my family. I love everything that I've been able to do with you and the Bears over the course of a lifetime, and being a part of, just every time you see a team that, or someone that wants to reference something about a great football team, they always reference the '85 Bears. So,
Yeah, and and your love of the game has never waned. You love the game. You'll watch every football game on, no matter what. Everything.
Yes.
This podcast is brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Tom didn't know he was getting a personal profile interview by me today. I kind of slipped that in.
Kind of made me sweat a little bit.
I know. It makes you uncomfortable, right? It makes you uncomfortable. You'll have that opportunity one day to interview me. I would like that to happen. Sit across and interview me for like 10 minutes and find out what you learned. So a guy who's very similar in terms, now don't get it twisted, he's very similar, I believe, in the mental aspect of preparing his body to get ready to go and compete for a job and play this game, is Tyson Bagent. I firmly believe that. I think he's absolutely committed to his craft, and we had a chance to visit with the third-year quarterback, remember, out of Shepherd University, undrafted free agent in 23, out of Martinsburg, West Virginia, and he enters the final season before restricted free agency on a quarterback team that has a depth chart with Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick in 2024, at the top of that list. He did play a lot in college. He played a lot in his rookie year and learned the playbook quickly, and that's what he's known for. He's known for being mentally ready to play and getting himself ready to play. And he played in 3 different offenses already, Tommy. So his experience should not be ignored here as he competes for that number 2 job with Case Keenum. There's not a concept he hasn't seen yet, really. I mean, he's gotten a lot of learning here.
But, the thing about Tyson, nothing's come easy to him. He never walked in here and came in here with the respect of a high draft choice, no matter what position you played. And it's about work ethic, preparation, and the commitment that he has shown to these guys, and the reason why he's still on the same team as a free agent quarterback. Remember, the longest tenured player off of that 85 team was Mike Tomczak. He was an undrafted free agent quarterback also out of Ohio State. So when you think about Tyson and his commitment to professional football, we may be talking about him 10 or 12 years from now at about the incredible career that he's able to, put in the archive. So Tyson's got, the reason he is successful is his personal commitment and preparation.
Yep, so let's dig into some of that. One of our interviews with the Bears leading into the 2025 training camp. Here's a very energetic Tyson Bagent. Tyson Bagent with us. Great. I almost didn't recognize you. I swear to you, folks, he's clean cut.
I'm back.
I missed the flow, though, because that's that was you. I'm honest to God, I would not have recognized you without the number.
Yeah,
this is how good he looks.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of that recently.
Why? What happened?
Why'd I cut the hair?
Yeah. What's the deal?
I grew it for 2 years, had the long hair for a couple years. Felt like it was just time. Every time I was working out, it was coming out of the bun, coming out, in my face all the time. Really just a hassle that I didn't feel like dealing with.
Well, and the thing is, as everyone knows, and this guy loves working out. So if it's going to mess with your jam on your workouts, we got to fix it.
Had to pivot.
What crazy addition to your routine did you throw in the mix this off season to get ready? Anything unique?
Yeah, as far as the routine goes, routine always changes a little bit. But as far as like workouts,
anything out there that's a little
we did a
5
mile partner carry. Four teams of 2. I ended up winning that one, so it was good.
Can you get more detailed? What is that? What is this?
It was partner carry. So it's like a piggyback ride. When you get tired, you stop jump on your partner's back. He goes, he gets tired, stop, jump on him, he's back on your back. 50, I think almost just under an hour is how long it took.
And how many miles?
5.
Wow.
How much your partner weigh?
Everybody was relatively the same weight. I think I was about 8 pounds heavier at that day.
Right.
So it was pretty even.
Okay, I got a football question because I've been curious about this. So I always watch the backup quarterbacks in the background of a play. So obviously you listen.
Play?
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously you listen, and during teamwork. So you listen to the play call, and then you do a ghost rep behind the quarterback that's actually running the play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know
so
exactly, yeah.
so that means that he's dropping back if he's actually a quarterback in the play, and then going through the throwing motion of. Do you ever see the play differently than the quarterback who's actually running the play?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. But as far as like the coaching is usually so good, and when we're out there on the practice field, we've usually just gone over a lot of that stuff. So a lot of times you end up just emulating whatever the starting quarterback is doing. But there is a time here and then where you got 2 different answers on a play, and you can kind of see that because you got guys like myself doing the play behind the play. So there's maybe a little bit of that, but not as much as you would think.
So now that you're kind of a couple years in the NFL with a couple different systems, do you have to wash your brain out of the last system and the terminology so you're only familiar with the terminology you're learning now? Because I have played with quarterbacks that have come into the team mid-stride, and sometimes they revert back to what they already know. Yeah. So what process are you in right now?
Yeah, I think right now the whole spring has kind of been geared towards, like you said, we're all trying to speak the same language this year, and I think half of learning a new offense is forgetting the old offense.
Right.
So there's every offense got the same word. They're using the same words, but a lot of times those words just mean different things. Like especially formationally. Richmond to one person might not be Richmond to the next person, might be a completely different right formation. So I say that's what we're spending this time right now, and I think they're doing a great job just trying to speak the same language, just so everybody's clear and concise on what we're talking about during meetings and when we're talking to other players and stuff like that.
Is this terminology in the NFL a lot more complicated than the terminology used in college, or is it just a different level?
Yeah, it's a lot harder.
Yeah.
So 3rd year. Now you got some real. I know you haven't played a ton, but you're a veteran quarterback.
Let's go.
Yeah, right.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Right. I mean, and the way you're sitting there, you're a study, and this is all a study in what intensity is.
Okay, I like that.
I watch you constantly, and I'm impressed with everything you do to get ready for any snap at any moment, whether it's practice or game day. We see what you're doing on the sidelines during games.
That, yeah.
Because you're not the starting quarterback and you're trying to get there, do you have to do this to stay ready at all possibilities, and you're training yourself without playing?
Yeah, I think everything is geared towards that. I mean, everybody, selfishly, which I think everybody's got a little bit of that selfishness within them. I am trying to, like you said, be a guy in this league, and what you just said about me being a study and all that, I could cry right now just thinking about that I'm doing. That's how much I love it. So there really is no alternative. It's what I would do no matter what. Freaking get goosebumps right now just thinking about it and talking about it. But I need to, my life depends on it, and I love it, and I love the Bears so much, and they've done so much for me and my family that really it is just on autopilot. Me just always going hard, getting ready. I want to be ready for myself, for my family, for my teammates, for the staff. So for me, I just don't let it turn off.
Well, the interesting thing, and this is, I know it's small, but it's not. So Tyson gets his reps, and then he's getting ready for the next one. But you know what? Here comes Case Keenum. So you sprint out of that huddle. It's like you're just on go constantly. Yeah. You're always like, and I don't think it's for. Listen, this is who you are, right? This is how you're wired.
Yeah, and some people don't like that shit. It makes some people uncomfortable. Some people love it.
I love it.
Yeah, some people love it. But nonetheless, it's on autopilot. So whether like it or not, it's just what I'm going to do.
Listen, so I got to know your dad a little bit. Love the guy. I wish he was a teammate of mine when I was playing for the Bears. I love his intensity. I like just his whole persona. So as a quarterback and your dad,
Do you have to say, because I think you got a lot of your dad in you, because when I hear you talk, your preparation and all that, is there a separation between quarterback and your dad, or do you have that same type of personality inside of you that your dad does?
Yeah, I would say I have. I did get a lot of my dad. I'm noticing that as I get older. I think I have a good mixture of him and my mom. And I think outside of football, I tend to, go a little bit more my mom's route. But as far as like, what my dad has kind of ingrained in me is just like, kind of like what we just talked about, just, hey, who out here is going to go the hardest, and who out here cares the most, and just energy, chest out. That's always something that he was kind of spewing to me, as I was growing up. So I'd say, yeah, I've certainly gotten a lot of my dad, and it's starting to show as I get older.
I think one of the blessings that he gave you is we're in the Walter Payton Center, and you see some of the pictures up there of Walter Payton. Walter Payton never had anybody train him. He trained himself. He never took anybody's, advice or anything. He tried to encourage people to come and work out with him. And it seems like that's one of the things that your dad gave you, is that interior work ethic that you need to have. You don't get a lot of notoriety for it because no one's there following you with the camera when you're in the gym or you're doing all the other training that you do. So that's one of the things that's benefited you in your life, is to have that training intensity that you need to get where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that of all the things that it takes to be an NFL quarterback, I think work ethic will be the hardest one to start once you get here. I think the playbook and everything, you can study the playbook, you can get better at the playbook. But as far as like, who you are and how hard you're going to go, trying to flip that switch once you get here, I think is a lot more difficult than learning an offense. So just very happy that, my family instilled that work ethic into me, because then everything else is just second nature after that.
Where have you improved the most, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think just everything revolving just quarterbacking. I think mentally, obviously, year 3, like you said, I've just, this is the fourth offense, fourth coordinator, fourth guy calling plays. Just, that knowledge to see what guys in the league are running, how they're running and how they're getting to certain plays. Definitely made a lot of improvements there. And then really just throwing the ball. I got a good routine. Got a hold of the weighted balls, which is the trendy quarterback thing now, and it's really made a difference in how my body feels after practice and how my arm and shoulder especially feels, and just kind of more zip on the ball, and you can't throw it far enough in this league. So.
Are you clicking with Ben?
Yeah, Ben is the this staff is the first staff that I could see myself coaching the way that they're coaching. I think that every staff has been pretty exceptional. Since I've been here. But I would say that there were some things where maybe I wasn't seeing eye to eye with how they were, operating or going about things. This staff is really like, looking at you in your face like, hey, are you ready to roll? Like,
I got to edit this.
We got to do, and we're in the National Football League. So that's really, in my opinion, how it should be ran. So I'm loving it so far.
Awesome. He lets it rip, man. He's comfortable. He's comfortable in his own skin, and he is totally committed. I love this player. I love his mindset, Tommy.
Yeah, for those of us that are lucky enough to have met his dad, Travis, who's one of the most electric personalities that I've ever met since a guy like Steve McMichael. I see why Tyson is the way he is, but he's still a little bit more reserved than what his dad is. But he's like, I thank my mom and dad for what they did for me and the work ethic they've instilled in me. It's the same thing with Tyson. When you talk about his training routine in the off season, that he's never going to have to be asked to be in shape. He's always going to be mentally prepared. And I think he's probably one of the most important players in this locker room, and he's earned it in his third level. Nothing was gifted to him.
And he comes up with every creative way possible to come up with a new way to get fit. He's challenging himself mentally and physically. What was this, the fireman's carry thing he did to put guys on the back and have that's...
It was a two-man race.
Crazy.
So I carry you as long as you can, then you carry me as long as you can, and it goes for an hour. And the last year, he got a lot of publicity from doing the burpees, for
Which I hate.
for a mile.
I hate those things.
Right.
Tom,
those are never fun.
those are painful. Pain.
Yeah.
Pain. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears, now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget at his 100% employee-owned shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. So he's thrown the ball 145 times. 143 of those were in his rookie year. Completed he completed 66% of his passes. 3 touchdowns, had the 6 picks, only 5 sacks. Ran the ball, Tommy, well. 29 carries, 102 yards, and a couple of touchdowns, but he brings fire to the field. He's ready every single snap, waiting for his opportunity. The discipline of that alone is impressive because you could easily, you could say, okay, I'm never getting in, but you always got to be ready. The moment you're not is when you're called on, you fail, and then you're done. Like they're not, you don't get a second chance.
One of the real reasons that Tyson always has to be ready is because any position player on the offensive side of the ball can come him and ask him a question about their assignment, about the play just called, about how the protection is moving from right to left, whether you're a center or a wide receiver. And I think it's so important to be able to have that sounding board that has experience, a lot like what Case Keenum is going to do. But when you have multiple guys that you can go up there and ask very specific questions. Even Caleb can go and ask a very specific offensive question from Tyson, and he'll know the answer.
His first career appearance was Week 6 of the 2023 season against Minnesota at Soldier Field. That was after that hit by Danielle Hunter, tracking down Justin Fields and knocked him out for several weeks. Danielle Hunter, always a wrecking crew against the Bears. But in that game, he came off the bench to go 10 of 14, 83 yards. Had an interception and a sack, then won his first career start against Vegas, 30-12. He was 21 of 29 in that game, 72%, a touchdown, and then lost his first 2 road starts at L.A. against the Chargers and then the Saints, where interceptions bit him a little bit, which happens with young quarterbacks for sure. Then he won his Week 10 matchup against Carolina at Soldier Field, 16-13. He was 20 of 33. Remember, he ran wild now, 8 for 70, and he picked up 5 rushing first downs. So, he has a little bit of a resume. How he fits, in your opinion, with this particular offense, I would seem to think just fine. It's going to be I would think, emphasize short passing game, get the ball to your skill, get yards after the catch, and protect the football, and establish that run.
Run after catch. And I think that's a key phrase that Ben has said since the moment he's got here. And one thing about a quarterback, you have to have perfect timing to have your pass completions result in run after catch. And I think that's what the coaches, everybody wants to evaluate. That's what they want to see out of Tyson once training camp begins. And I think every Bear fan wants to see every quarterback being able to do that.
How do you evaluate the personalities now that you know all 3 quarterbacks, having met and interviewed Case Keenum and knowing Caleb and what he's been like? It looks to me like a very good mesh. They're all very different, I would say, but it's a good mesh with a good mix of experience here.
I think they complement each other really well. They're all different personalities, but they're also committed to football. And whether it's Case Keenum talking about at this time in his career being able to play a kid's game as an adult, or you got Caleb Williams who's playing a kid's game and he's still a young man who is going to be a better quarterback in 3 years than he is the day he walks into training camp. And Tyson Bagent, the same thing. He's a guy that nothing has ever been easy for him. Nothing has ever been guaranteed. And Tyson has lived up to what the coaching staff asks out of him, and he's been able to kind of surpass some of the evaluators that took a look at him in college.
And I don't mean to minimize Austin Reed either. I like Austin Reed. He's also a very confident young man, and he's going to get his chances as well. I'd like to keep all 4, honestly. I'd like to keep them here. If it's practice squad or whatever, keep them all here. You never can have enough at the quarterback position. And as guys develop over time, they can become assets. Assets if you need to move them or whatever, they're assets. I don't want to see guys move, but Austin Reed is another guy to keep an eye on.
It's crazy what we've seen out of the quarterback position in the last couple of years. And when you think of a guy like Jameis Winston, who's on the, trying out for a quarterback in the Giants, there's nothing guaranteed to anybody, no matter if you were the first pick in the draft or you're a free agent. And Austin has done a lot of really good things. And when you talk about training camp, you need 4 quarterbacks to get through training camp. And the amount of passes that are going to be thrown every single time he throws a ball to the receiver, he's getting evaluated not only here but honestly everywhere around the league.
For a guy like Tyson Bagent, as a veteran who's been a part of this game for your entire adult life, what advice would you give him? Because you could see it on his face. He wants more, right? Of course you do. If you don't belong here. But patience is tough.
You and I were talking about this the other day. Steve Young started his first NFL game in his 8th year. So this is not something that we have to anoint Tyson a starter right now. The best thing that he can do is follow along with every coach that he's playing for, every system he's playing in, and continue to do the physical part of the game that's required of him. And you never know what's going to happen with a guy like Tyson. He could become a starter in his 8th year. He could contribute in his 3rd year. So there's nothing that's etched in paper exactly what's going to happen for him and to him. And he just got to keep doing the things that he's been doing to earn that roster spot that he earned year 1. And now look, we're talking about him year 3.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. All right, let's switch to the tight end position. Another all eyes on it type of position with Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland. Should be ready to go when training camp begins. There are other additions, including Jordan Murray out of Hawaii, a first-year player, wears number 87. Steven Carlson, who's been around for a few years. Joel Wilson, number 86, a tight end out of Central Michigan in his first year, signed to the Bears practice squad last October and stayed there all through the rest of the season, then signed a futures contract, bounced around from Buffalo, Green Bay, the Giants, but also got the eyes and the attention of head coach Ben Johnson when he was asked later in the veteran minicamp week, some guys that caught his attention. Joel Wilson was one of them. But Durham Smythe has been around. 8th year out of Notre Dame, a 4th-round pick of the Dolphins in 2018 out of Belton, Texas. Here on a 1-year deal, capped casually by the Dolphins after 7 seasons. Started 12-plus games in 5 consecutive years. But the arrival of Jonnu Smith impacted his 24 season, so lost some playing time. Let's listen in to a very fun interview with Durham Smythe. I just dropped into the conversation. The two Domers are comparing residence halls. But
when I went to Notre Dame as an older guy, I went to the only dorm at the time that had air conditioning, and that was
necessary for you.
Yes, called Flanner, and they had one next to it called Grace that now are office buildings. And Durham said he lived in Zom Hall. They don't have air conditioning in that stuff.
Absolutely not. So yeah, I got there in 2013, fully expecting air conditioning, and I go in, 0 air conditioning, a heater that would burn me every night. It was character building, and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, me either. I love the experience of going there, but air conditioning was a prerequisite.
He gets very excited, as I do. I grew up in the Midwest, and my dad was a big fan of Notre Dame and Ohio State. I know, right? I hate right. But this franchise has a long history of Notre Damers coming here, and now you got a handful. I love it, and so the guys at Iowa, friends we have, are always quick to say, "Hey, that's tight end you," and Tom says, "Hold it, nope, that would be Notre Dame."
That's exactly right.
And I mean, it's become that.
I get the argument that these guys are making. The recency, they've been incredible. I would argue so have we. But our lineage goes way back. It goes. I could. Dave Casper. It goes all the way back. So I think there's arguments to be made for other schools, but Notre Dame will always be.
Dave Casper lives still in the Chicago area.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
And he always used to come to the National Football Foundation. Had a charity scholarship, and always come with his wife. Nicest guy in the world.
Awesome.
Nicest guy. I always loved Dave Casper. I also had a dinner with him, and when the Super Bowl was in Minneapolis, and it was Casper and Ron Coomer. And it was Ron Coomer's the color analyst for the Cubs on radio, and what a great guy. But the storytelling from Casper. Ooh,
yeah, that's a great crew right there.
Gosh, Ghost to the Post. I just want to call that one more time, right? Ghost to the Post.
So I also played for the Miami Dolphins, so at the end of my career. So now you make your way back to the Midwest. You're here in Chicago. What attracted you to Chicago, especially the tight end position? To me, tight end position is one of the most valuable, complicated positions to play because your point of attack, your backside, your H-back, your fullback, your wide receiver. You got so many different things to do at the position. So a Ben Johnson-led offense, what attracted you here?
Well, I mean, so many things. First and foremost, the city itself before anything. Like you said, Notre Dame being so close, I was familiar with the city. An incredible sports town, which I was, first and foremost fired up about. And then with Ben, it's, one of the smartest minds in modern day, NFL football, a guy that I was a little familiar with, being with him in 2018 down in Miami. He does a lot of things with tight ends. We're very multiple. Guys doing different things in different positions, which has always attracted me. I like the thought of being able to do, numerous things. And then also there was some familiarity with the room. I was at Notre Dame with Cole. He was a freshman when I was a senior. He's an incredible player. I think underappreciated actually. And, I've known him for so long that we have a little rapport. So that's nice. And we've added some great pieces. There's some great young kids in the room as well. All good players. So it's really exciting any way you look at it.
Any good Cole freshman stories from Notre Dame?
Oh, man. I
carry your helmet, carry your pants.
He was always great about that. He was eager to do it. He was asking, what can I do for you? And that's how you like a guy immediately when they're not going to press back and say that. And then when guys are eager to do that, they kind of get off, light. You're not going to, attack them too much when they're eager to do it. So he was great from the very beginning. And obviously getting back with him now, he's the same awesome guy.
Your approach to this season, because the different things that the tight end position has to do, you're learning the new offense and you're learning a new quarterback. Do you have a priority of what direction you go, or does kind of everything fall into a basket and you just pick and choose between the day?
Sure. I mean, it's all important. There's some terminology familiarity for me with this offense from 2018. And Ben has done a great job of combining, that offense from the Dolphins in 2018 with things he's picked up along the way, with more of, the outside zone and things of that nature. So at least I have some familiarity there, which is nice. Those things are coming back. And I think, priority-wise, it's very important to have not only a good relationship with the quarterback, but help him in any way you can, especially a younger quarterback, and especially one that's as talented as the one we have. So I think our room in general, me specifically as an older guy, I'm just going to try to do everything I can to help him, because if he can reach the potential that he has, then the sky literally is the limit. And I've played with a lot of talented quarterbacks in the past, but I noticed immediately what his ceiling is, and it's pretty incredible. So I think that's the priority right now, is to help him in any way possible.
Are you ready for the intensity of a training camp? Because it seems like every time a training camp is led by a first-time head coach, the intensity is cranked up a little bit. You ready for that?
Absolutely. I went through 3 of those in Miami, and you're absolutely right. It is. The first year, when a coach comes in, is establishing a culture, it's definitely a little bit more, like you said, kind of ratcheted up than the rest, which is, I think it's necessary and important. And Ben's an intense guy, fair but intense. He's not. There's some coaches out there that are intense, but it's almost to a detriment to some guys. Ben is fair but very intense, and I think the training camp will reflect that, and I think it'll be good for the culture and ultimately good for the franchise.
I know it's early and had no training camp yet, no game yet. But the Ben Johnson you knew in 2018 versus the one now, do you see a difference in his style, his approach, knowledge, all of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously an evolution that takes place when when I first met him. He was a younger position coach who had been in the NFL for a while, but still younger, still learning. But I think the funny thing is that he's the same guy. He was always the smart guy who was taking little things from different coaches and different players and kind of putting it together. And his approach is the same as it was then. He's always been this regimented, intense coach, but I think he's just really picked up on the things that he's learned from coaches over the last 10, 15 years and kind of combined them to create his own thing was obviously very successful in Detroit, and something that we'll try to recreate and eventually surpass here. So he's always been the same guy, but he's done a great job of kind of evolving as the years have gone by.
And he's mentioned this, and I've heard it from a lot of the other coaches, but everybody thinks, oh, close your eyes, it's going to be Detroit. So no, there's a blend of different influences here with other guys, Press Taylor, Declan Doyle, you name it. This is truly going to be a unique offense. It's going to be the Chicago Bears offense, whatever that looks like. Yes, there will be 12 personnel, a lot, hopefully. But do you get that sense also?
Absolutely. I mean, I think to be a successful coach in the NFL, you can't fit what they say, a square peg into a circular hole. Mm-hmm. You have to mold the offense to your players first and foremost and what they're good at. And I think that's been one of Ben's strengths throughout his career. And like I just mentioned a second ago, another thing he's been very good at is picking up things from different coaches along the way. And we have a lot of talented, smart, young coaches in the building right now that I think he'll pick up things from as well. So I think you're right. It's going to be the Chicago Bears offense. It's not going to be exactly what it has been in the past. And hopefully that will continue to morph into something.
But I do love that 12 personnel thing because it forces a defense into some very interesting dilemmas. Number one, right?
Absolutely.
So Bill Parcells loved it like that.
Sure,
you're going to have to declare what you're doing.
Why stop there? We love 13 personnel too.
Yes,
that's even more meaningful. So why stop there?
Are you the elder statesman in the tight end room right now?
I am.
It's amazing how it's a short amount of time that you've been in the NFL, but on this team you're the elder statesman, and there's going to be a lot expected of you in terms of leadership and the different things, the examples that you can set in the locker room and everything. So I think it's a pretty cool deal when you reach that level.
Sure, that's a role that I'm looking forward to. It's funny. I mean, as you know, it goes by so fast. You blink and you're the oldest guy in the room. Last year, I think I was the longest tenured Dolphin, and it felt like I had just been there. I'd just gotten there. So now to come into a room and I'm the oldest guy, I'm a little bit used to that, and I understand the importance of the role, leading some of these really talented younger guys we have in the room.
Yeah, hot in Miami, dude. I remember practicing down there in December and it being like 200 degrees.
Oh man, I was just saying every August down there, it's a near-death experience. So I'm excited to kind of get that behind me.
All right, last one. I'll let you go. How many times do people mispronounce your last name? They assume one thing.
I would probably put it at around 60% of the time. It's I get the Smith or the Smithy, but at this point, this deep into my career,
you let it
dating
roll?
back to high school, I've learned to answer to everything. So,
but it is Smythe.
It is Smythe, and it is nice when it is said Smythe. I do appreciate that, but I've
you can
come
count
a long
on
way.
us on game day. We'll make the right call.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Tom, the big takeaway here, he goes back with Ben Johnson. So when Ben was a receivers coach before joining the Lions as an offensive quality control coach with the Miami Dolphins, so there is there's knowledge there. So they know each other. A Kmet teammate at Notre Dame, Cole Kmet, had a time with him as well as a 16-year-old guy. Now Cole's a married 24-year-old. It's just funny to me how this league works. And in between, Durham Smythe put together an 8-year NFL career.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned all the competition there is at the tight end position, and I think that's one thing you need in the NFL is you have tight ends that can compete because they play so many different positions, including special teams. And then you have that caveat, Ben Johnson used to be a tight end coach. He probably knows more about the tight end position as a play caller than some of the other positions out there. But the one thing that I get a kick out of is you brought up during the interview about Ben liking to play 12 personnel. And the first thing he says, what about 13? So, don't lose sight that, you can use multiple tight ends in a variety of positions and have them all on the field at the same time. And when you have that track record of contribution at the tight end position, I think Durham Smythe has really put himself in the right position this year.
Yep. Does very well as an inline blocker as well. 35 catches, 366, 10.5 a catch, and 23 as a 14-game starter. Last season, just 17 targets. Again, the Jonnu Smith factor there. Had 9 catches for 53 yards. But considered to be a very smart player, and by Ben Johnson, a Swiss Army knife type player. So when you hear somebody's a Swiss Army knife, what goes through your head?
When you come out of tight end, and I'm talking about Notre Dame here, you are able to play a variety. You have a variety of skills. You can play a variety of positions. And I think that's when you talk about a Swiss Army knife, is because you got to be a good inline point of attack blocker, but you also have to be a backside deceptive, also a blocker to help whatever tackle you're playing next to. Then you got to play fullback. You got to play H-back. You got to play wide receiver. You got to go in motion. You got to be able to be a movable blocker. So there are so many job requirements for the tight end position. It's really growing into one of the more versatile ability positions that there is in the NFL.
The impact of 12 or 13 personnel, as it may be. What's the impact? And we talked about it at great length. Ben's going to use a lot of it. Nobody ran more plays out of 12 personnel in the entire NFL. 361 total plays with a success rate of nearly 48%, averaging a gain of 6.2 yards per play. That included 59 explosive plays at that position with 2 tight ends, and led the NFL in touchdowns scored out of 12 personnel, 29 touchdowns. What are we looking at here? What's the why of that? Why does it impact when you have the capability of being a good 12 personnel team?
You just got to look at field position. When you're backed up and coming out of your own end zone, you'd like to have more blockers at the line of scrimmage that have the ability to block with power. Then if you look at short yardage and goal line, you got to look at multiple tight ends because you can use them anywhere on the field up and down the line of scrimmage, and you can change the balance of the defense that you're facing. And then you look at short yardage and goal line. Next to the goal line, you talk about multiple tight end sets with multiple offensive linemen. And I just think when you have versatile athletes at the tight end position, that you can create a mismatch by motion. And I think that Ben Johnson has done that so creatively in the last couple of years that when you look at this group of tight ends that the Bears have, I'm telling you, you can really have some interesting types of mismatch packages, because all we've heard about Colston Loveland is what a difficult cover he is because of his catching rate and his versatility. So add another tool in that tight end tool bag, and I think you're going to see the results here in Chicago.
There's no official fullback on the roster, but can some of these guys take the H-back position as well?
Every one of them can. We've seen Cole do it. We know that Durham can do it. We know that Steven Carlson can do it. I think every tight end that grows up as a tight end in modern day football, from their college game all the way through the NFL, they're all capable of playing every position that's required from them.
So, it's not like this 12 personnel is a new thing in the NFL, obviously, but it's just the Bears do have 2 impact tight ends, Cole Kmet and a number 10 pick in the draft at tight end. If you're a number 10 pick, you're going to be playing right away in the NFL. So Colston Loveland has a star quality to him as a potential. Everybody's a potential until you start playing. But
I got a question for you. Let me ask you one quick question.
Okay.
Total number of catches by the entire tight end position. What would you be if we were talking at the end of the season and we said, wow, the tight ends contributed blank amount of catches?
Well, Sam Laporta in Detroit in that offense, and again, we're not doing exactly what the Lions did, but I'm sure there'll be similar takes on it. What do you have, 87 catches, a rookie record at tight end? Boy, with this bunch, and you keep pumping me that, Cole's going to have more than the 47 catches he had last season. So, it's with everybody, would 130 to 140 be okay?
I was thinking 150 to 160.
Okay. But here's what I want more than the catches. I want touchdowns. Laporta had 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I keep saying, I think Cole could be a touch. I predicted 10 touchdowns the last couple years for Cole Kmet, and I've fallen short here. But I think you could have. Boy, what if both of them are 10 touchdown guys?
Okay, so on this 151st podcast, if they have 151 catches by the tight end position,
all right, let's mark this down right now. Let's mark this down. But I was going, the 2013-2014 to like the 2015 seasons. Okay, it was rough, but they had Martellus Bennett, who had some game to him. You had Zach Miller. You had Brandon Malamalayuna, Matthew Mulligan. They played all together. So we've had 12 personnel before with good receivers. Like, you can have an explosive offense, but this looks different. This, because of the types of receivers they are, and Loveland's ability to run routes, Cole's ability, the ruggedness after the catch for both of these guys, and then whomever becomes the third or fourth and fifth tight. I mean, this is going to be a very fun watch. There's two things I love, Tommy. Love myself a little nickelback. Love those nickel corner blitzes, and I love tight ends. I love tight ends.
Yep.
Always asking. I can remember for years under Ditka, where it's always like, they always needed another tight end. Can you get the tight end the ball? And then you would always tell me, well, John Allred got injured, rolled up. More man hours lost at the tight end position than any other position in football. So knock on wood, everybody stays healthy.
Yeah, you look at the line of the tight ends at the first day of training camp, and you hope that line is equally as long at the end of training camp, and then some difficult decisions by the personnel guys up in the front office.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears, and our aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines. Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. It's fun when we're just thinking things through as the season approaches. One thing on Caleb before we wrap it up. What do you believe the impact will be? Because in the last couple podcasts, we addressed the offensive line, especially the interior, on the impact on Caleb with that interior three. And also, Caleb at his rookie season learned a ton. Pro Football Focus had him as the best big-time throw rate of all rookies last season. And the addition of having another tight end of a quality of the hands and the ability to run the routes like Loveland to pair with Komet should open up the middle of the field. So you have the middle of the offensive line, give him a nice clean pocket to work from. And you also have the middle of the field at your disposal, especially if you pull them from under center and you have play action, the true play action from center, drawing everybody up. Don't you think this is going to really elevate the overall production of Caleb and efficiency of the offense for this young man?
Yeah. First of all, if they have the continuity out of the offensive line from the beginning of training camp, and Caleb gets to understand the blockers, their strengths in front of them, and they all get to repeatedly hear the different types of protections, it's all going to help Caleb. And then if you have an aggressive running game and you're getting some average per carry, and then your running game is a little bit more threatening, so play action is a little bit more deceptive. Those are all the building blocks to Caleb. And so if every other part can play its role in the Ben Johnson offense, I think it's only going to create big play opportunities for Caleb.
And lastly, the NFC North. We keep saying it's the top division. I don't even think it's arguably anymore, but as we begin this search, and we're on Bears Weekly this week, we'll have a NFC North preview in detail with some of our friends in the broadcast crews. Top division of the NFL last season, posting the best winning percentage, 662, most by a division, Tom, since 2002. That was last year. But this year, I believe everybody's just as or stronger in different ways. And so this is going to be interesting. This is since 2002 when the format changed to 4 divisions in the East Conference. Now, when the postseason began, all 3 teams that made the playoffs were eliminated in the first game. So it's a tough division. They beat each other up. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited to watch one team, and that's the Bears, because I think there's question marks on every other team. There's question marks on the Bears, but there's also question marks on every single team within this division. And they won't be answered until we get into the bulk of the division games. But still, you got to be ready to roll week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings. They come in Monday Night Football, and it's got to be an atmosphere unlike any others. And so
I think it will be.
I do as well. But, you got to just make sure your roster is mature enough to sit for that Monday game, because now you got Sunday where you're going to practice and you got that angst, man. You're ready to roll. And then it comes a Monday morning, you wake up, you go down to breakfast, and then you got to sit there all day until you go to the stadium. It just creates a little bit different of an anxiousness that a 12 noon start gets out of the way. Monday night, it doesn't.
So is this unique to week 1, you're saying, because you've been building up for this for so many months?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good take.
Unique to week 1. You've been getting ready for this opponent for the last 6 months, and now you're going to play a game, and now you're going to have 5 days to get ready for week 2. Mm-hmm. And so it's just that, that whole beginning.
And so it begins. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears, now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget, and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. That's going to do it for us. Special thanks to our guests, Tyson Bagent and Durham Smythe. A fun podcast indeed. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.